Okay, we've already established that God cares deeply about his glory. In the context of sports provides opportunities for us as competitors to give God the glory he desires. But what is it that we're actually giving to God? What is glory? There's a meme floating around the internet right now from a popular TV show, and it's of a soccer player holding a soccer ball, and underneath it's the tagline, "Football is life." And my son sees this online, and he comes to me, and he's confused. He feels like there's some sort of disconnect, and he said, "Dad, this doesn't make sense to me." And I said, "Why? Why, son, doesn't it make sense?" He says, "Because he's saying football is life, but he's holding a soccer ball and playing the sport of soccer." And I had to explain to my son that in the majority of the world, when we use the word football, we're actually not referring to our American understanding of football with helmets and tackling and pads. We're actually referring to the game of soccer. And it was really confusing to him that we could use a word that he historically understands as one sport to mean a different sport. It reminds me of this. Language matters. Words matter. Context matters. And so when we use a word like glory, especially within the context of sports, there can be this assumption of what it means for us and what it doesn't mean. And so let's start here. Glory means weight. It means a particular object is heavy with worth and significance. So imagine the difference in glory between a rock and a pickleball. The rock, because of its weight, has more glory than a pickleball. My pickleball playing friends may disagree and say this has more glory, but this has significantly more weight than this. Imagine if I were to take both of these and drop them into a glass of water. The pickleball, light in weight, would maybe cause a small ripple. The rock, however, would make a huge splash. It would spill water outside of the ground, all around it, all over me potentially. The more weighty or glory an object has or is, the more it impacts and influences everything around it. God's glory, then, is the weight of everything that makes God who he is, and the sharing of this weight for the benefit of us and those around us. But how can we connect this idea of God's glory being the weight of everything that makes God, God, and the sharing of this weight for the benefit of those made in his image? Asked differently, how can we give glory to God specifically through the way we engage in sport? We bring glory to God through sport when we make him pleased by emphasizing and embodying his character. Hebrews 1:3 is going to say this, talking about Jesus, that Jesus, he is the radiance of the glory of God, the exact imprint of his nature. So when we talk about embodying God within the context of sport, Jesus gives us the perfect example. He is the exact imprint of God's nature. He's the radiance of God's glory. And so how do we do that in sport? We try as best as we can to look, think, act, and talk like Jesus. Most of us have practiced this worldly version of giving glory to God at some point in our lives. And here's what I mean by that. Do you remember playing sports in your background or your neighborhood or at school or in your driveway and declaring in front of your friends what athlete you were going to be on that particular game or that particular play? Playing basketball in the driveway with my brother growing up, we always argued over who got to be Michael Jordan or Shaquille O'Neal. In football, it was always Barry Sanders. And whatever athlete that we aligned with on that day, we would try our best to play in ways similar to them. Of course, because of our lack of skill, it was always a very, very dim reflection. But the point is this, we were bringing glory to that particular player by trying to be like them and trying to act like them and play like them. This is how we bring glory to God in sport. We inwardly declare, I get to be Jesus today. 2 Corinthians 3:18 says this, and we all who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord who is Spirit. Paul is saying that God's glory is reflected in our lives as we become more and more like him. That the weight of what makes God who he is made visible and experienced to the world around us as we grow in the likeness of God. Glory simply means weight. God's glory is the weight of everything that makes God who he is and the sharing of this weight for the benefit of us and those around us. And we bring glory to God through sport when we make him pleased by emphasizing and embodying his character. And listen, competitors, the best way to ensure that we do this is to prioritize our relationship with God. It means engaging with him through the word. It means conversing with him through prayer. And it means surrendering our lives and our will to his way. As we grow in our relationship with God, he transforms us more and more and more into his image. And as he does that, his glory is reflected to us and to the world around us in the context of sport. But what does that look like practically within the context of sport? In the next video, we'll talk about glorifying God through our motivation.